Hi and welcome to a tutorial on Dreamweaver. We're looking at how we can add videos and animated objects into our websites. Now I'll refresh you on where we're up to. At the moment we've created our websites looking like this. It is a single PNG file, an image file that we have inserted into some HTML code to create our web page. Now, given that this is one single image file, and if I try and highlight there, you can see that it is one image file. It's not made up of separate components. There is no way in Dreamweaver or in HTML code for us to layer an animated logo over top of this Nikon section or to insert a video into this YouTube section. Instead, what we will need to do is to break the website up into smaller building blocks. So I'm going to move back into Photoshop, back where my PSD file was that I created this image in, and I'm going to show you a few different elements. Now you can obviously see on the right hand side, you've got all my layers and all of the different areas that I've been working with. I'm just going to use the select tool here at the moment. If I wanted to put an animated logo in over this Nikon space, then what I would need to do is to break the website into three parts. The first part is obviously that Nikon space where I would like to put my animated logo. The second part is going to be the remaining aspect of the top bar. And the final part of my website would then be all of the bottom section as one clear building block. And in that way, and if I draw this using a few colored rectangles, we would have block number one looking like this. I'll just move my layer to the top there so you can actually see what we're working with. So we've got block number one. I'll change to an alternate color now and we'll draw block number two. And finally, block number three, which fill in this spot here, and I'll change that to another color again. So essentially I have three building blocks. I've got the black section, the red section, and the yellow section would be how I would need to break this website up. Now, if I already have my animated logo, and I'm just going to move to the desktop now. Here is my animated logo. It's here in preview. You can see all of my different layers. When I preview this logo, you'll see that it's just a skateboard that is just rolling down the actual logo. Now, I want that logo to fit into the black building block. I'm then going to need my existing building block from Photoshop drawing to fit here in the red block and the remainder of my website in the yellow. So to do that, this is what I need to do. Firstly, I need to work out exactly what size each of these building blocks are. Now I can do that. You can see my rectangle when I'm clicked on the layer and I'm in the properties panel. I can see that that is 1175 pixels by 48 pixels. Oh, sorry, 1175 pixels by 497 pixels. My mistake there. And again, I can go back down to my layers, just make my layers a little more visible. My red rectangle is 915 pixels multiplied by 96 pixels in size, and the black box is 260 pixels wide and 96 pixels tall. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to create two new Photoshop documents. First one needs to be created in exactly the same size as our red rectangle. So I'll go back to my red rectangle, 915 by 96 pixels, File, New. Just drag it over here so I can still see it. It's going to be 915 pixels by 96 pixels. I'm going to call this red block just so we can see exactly what we're working with. Create this section here. I'm then going to, in my yellow block, I have a section of my website which is 1175 by 497 pixels. Again, File, New. This time my document is going to be called yellow block. and it's going to be 1175 multiplied by 497 pixels in size. Create. Now that we have these parts of our website, I'm going to deselect, 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 and on my, delete those colored rectangle layers, I no longer need those. Now I've got artboard number 1. While artboard number 1 is selected, what I'm going to do is I've got my selection tool over here. I'm going to copy. It's not going to enable me to do that, so I'm going to deselect that. I'm going to turn off my guides. I'm going to take a screenshot here. And that goes into my yellow block section. And when I resize that, if I've taken this screenshot correctly, this should fit perfectly into the document. Done. File, save. Yes, I'd like to apply my transformation. Where would I like to save it? Just for now, I'm going to put it into my red website's root folder in the images. I'm going to call it yellow block. I'm going to do the same thing here for the top block. Command Shift, get my screenshot, and the line is to there. Paste that into my red block page. Transform that so it fits. And transform that so it fits. Done. Save. Red block. I'm going to then resave them again, each of these, as a PNG file so that it can be picked up and used in Dreamweaver. Red block PNG and yellow block PNG, save as. And for now, I'm done with Photoshop. I'm going to move back to Dreamweaver here. I'm going to, in Dreamweaver, fill my screen, File, create a new document. I'm still working in a HTML document here. I'm still going to be working with what's going to end up being an index. I'm going to call this index animate, just so that it separates in case I have any issues with my file later on. And create. When I have a look at my website in design view, at the moment there's nothing in there. I can go to my files and I can locate a few things. So firstly, I'm going to put my logo in. Now I know for certain that my logo needs to be 96 pixels tall. I remember that from when I did my Photoshop sizing, and if I'm not sure, again, I can just check this out, and over here, turn my rulers back on, and I can check that size there. Okay. So once I know that it was 96 tall, I'm going to edit this to be 96 pixels tall, and that's resized my animation right there. Then I'm going to select my red block, was the next section of my website, in PNG, and drag in. And the final section of my website is then to include my yellow block as a PNG file. Drag that in, and done. Now, I obviously want my website to fit nice and neatly together. So if I have a look at my code, realistically, these should add up. If I do 177 plus 915, which is my logo, and my red block, they need to add up to 175. If they don't, it means my logo is actually being created for the wrong size. So I'm just going to manipulate my logo to fit. So the math that I have here is 1,175 divided by 915 gives me a remainder of 260. So I'm actually going to stretch the width 260, but remain the height at 96. When I view that in design view, it's going to hopefully look a little bit neater for me. Now the benefit of doing that is that when I save this web page, I'm going to call this index animate in my root folder. And if I open it up from my root folder, hopefully I will see that my website just fits together. Index animate HTML. There it is. Now, why does this work? Well, the way that we've layered these three different components in Dreamweaver, part A, part B, and part C, are all sitting next to each other. But because my window is so small, it can't fit part C, the yellow block, on the right side here, so it then goes on to the next line. If I was to minimize my window, you'll actually see where the bug in the code will exist. And likewise, if I was to zoom out using my zoom tool, eventually this will happen. Now, for the purposes of this assessment task, I'm not too worried at this stage if it's not absolutely perfect, but if you are attempting the AL option and you would like to include an animation or a video, this is how I would do it. I'd be chunking my websites into block sections and working forward from there, making sure that in total my sizes add up. Thanks very much. I hope this has been helpful.